And one thing that's interesting on this story is that you can comment in every paragraph instead of just having your comment be on the bottom of this really long story. And I've seen that in Medium is a online publication that does that, and I think I've seen it elsewhere. I can't think of the publication name. Was that your idea? Did you guys?
So we didn't discover Medium's doing that until we were basically 3/4 through it. Though it was cool to see that somebody else that is obviously backed by for the Twitter founders doing that validation for sure.
Yeah, I think we're going to be seeing more and more of that. I mean, there's something about going to Gawker or the Huffington Post and seeing 1,200 comments after the story's only been up for 40 minutes. No one wants to go through and read all those, but just being able to see on the side, and you can see that on your website. I mean, these readers, these commenters seemed really engaged. They seemed committed to this story, and I thought that was really interesting. So if you want to talk about the community engagement and what you guys have seen, if you can be as specific as possible. You mentioned getting phone calls and stuff. Anything else?
Well, I mean, it's tough. I mean, analytically, it did great for us, but the scale here is so different from what the scale would be for the stuff Josh is looking at on a regular basis. And then, the level of engagement, the time on site, all that stuff was, basically by a factor of 2 beat anything we had ever done before.
Sure. Okay. Well, I'll ask you something.
But that said, if you get a really good salacious murder in town, it'll still do better analytically if you're covering it, and you could probably get 9 cuts off of that in 3 days. So it's not, you can't play the game specifically, and look at the Google Analytics to tell you your success story, especially in a small place.
I looked at the metrics just on what your site was, and it had like we'll say around 500 interactions on Facebook and a little bit under 100 tweets or shares. How does that compare with an average story? Are you guys happy with that when you hit that number on the average feature?
Oh yeah, I mean that explodes our social engagement records by a factor of 100. I mean, basically people, that I'm trying to think how to contextualize it, but I mean our site gets 50,000 unique visitors a month. Okay, so and you're talking about a story that performs well, maybe gets 4,000 or 5,000 reads. I mean that's a top end story in a given week. So that gives you a sense of the scale we're operating in, right?
I would just add very quickly that what you're getting at is impact, and page views is I think a fairly poor proxy for impact. It certainly tells you how many people saw it, but
and passed it around and said, "Hey, look at this."
Sure.
We also had a survey with 600 responses.
Yeah, it's like over 400 likes on Facebook, so over 600 responses to a survey, data-wise. But I think I'm curious to hear on the impact side, because that's really where we really felt it, and really felt it around the city as far as a buzz thing to be talked about, which is a lot of the goal.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I think that there are big New York Times investigations that don't get many readers that affect change, that laws get passed, and that's a huge impact. And so when I read this and I see those comments and they're contextualized and people are obviously engaged with it, and people understand this as they wouldn't have otherwise if it was just a story that was in the week's paper and maybe they're on vacation that week and oh well, they missed it. This really, and it's hard to measure. I mean, that's the thing, is that analytics are really easy to measure, and so we do. They're nice numbers, and we can look at them and we can compare them, but it doesn't actually tell you what the impact of the story is.